Hi and welcome to Quirky Books with Katie. Today I'm going to be doing my first ever vlog. So today I am going to be going to the StoryCrush Tour and I am so excited to go. Some of the authors that are going to be featured there today are Lauren Oliver, Courtney C. Stevens, Melissa Kantor, Katie Cotugno, and Robyn Schneider. And I am just so excited to be going. And I apologize in advance because this is my first ever vlog, so it's probably not going to be the best quality, but I'm really excited. I'm gonna have a lot of fun and I'm excited to be able to bring you guys with me tonight. Hey guys, I am currently on the road to the tour, which is very exciting because actually I didn't think I was gonna be able to go because it was supposed to snow a foot, but we ended up not getting any snow. So thankfully, I am able to go. I am seriously so excited right now, and this vlog is probably just going to be me like fangirling and being weird, and I've never vlogged before, so yeah, it's like an hour plus drive here, but I will update you guys when I get there.
Okay, so why don't you guys just briefly introduce your books, just so everybody's on the same page. You know, some people I'm sure have read your book, some people have read other books on the panel, but just give a brief description so people know what we're talking about.
Okay, I'll start. Hi, my name is Lauren. I am the author of Before I Fall, the Delirium trilogy, 2 books for middle grade readers, which are awesome, and you should read them too, and also Panic, which isn't officially out until tomorrow, so you guys are getting it a whole day early, which means if you go home and read it right now, you'll have read it like a whole day before other people. And Panic is a standalone. It's realistic. It's about a oh my god, I made you choke already. I'm sorry. Panic is about a small town, kind of a small rundown town in upstate New York, where the teens have developed a game of fear that they play every summer for pretty high stakes. It's basically they do increasingly frightening things and they cannot show any fear, and the person who manages to do them all takes a big pot of money. And for some people, you know, for different people that represents different things. For Heather and Dodge, the 2 primary protagonists, in one case for Heather that represents escape, and for Dodge it represents revenge. And there's a tiger in it, that's all I'm gonna say.
Hi, my name is Melissa. I'm the author of If I Have a Wicked Stepmother, Where's My Prince, and The Darlings in Love, and a few other books. And my new book, Maybe One Day, is the story of Olivia and Zoe, and they're best friends and they're dancers, they're ballerinas at a prestigious New York ballet company. And they get cut from the company and they think this is absolutely the worst thing that will ever happen to us. And then Olivia is diagnosed with leukemia. And it's the story of their friendship and what happens to them and what happens to Olivia over the course of their junior year.
Hi, I'm Robyn Schneider. I'm the author of many tweets and this yellow book in front of you. So just a little bit about the beginning of everything. It is the story of a boy named Ezra Faulkner who believes that everybody has a life-defining tragedy that happens to him. And he has this theory after, minor spoiler, but it's on page 3, after like his best friend when he's a kid catches a decapitated head on a Disneyland ride and then is shunned like forever for this. And he's like, oh my god, that was his life-changing tragedy. And this is the story of what happens to him after he suffers his own tragedy. And there is a poodle who talks like Jay Gatsby and flash mobs and geocaching and debate tournaments, and it's just like it's kind of like a weird suburban coming of age story.
Can you guys hear us okay, or should we use the mic? Yeah, okay.
Hi guys, I'm Katie. I am the author of How to Love. It's a contemporary romance that's told in alternating before and after chapters about a couple that falls in love twice, 3 years apart. So Rena is kind of shy and quiet, and she's been in love with Sawyer her whole life, and he's a bad boy and he's never really noticed her, but he has noticed her best friend Allie. And then we cut to 3 years later, and Sawyer is back after a long absence, and he finds Rena still living in their kind of small, humid Florida town with his baby. So the novel kind of unravels the mystery of how they got together in the first place, why Sawyer left, and whether or not they can make it happen this time. And it's my first book, and I'm really excited to be here with all of you guys.
Hey.
My name is Courtney Stevens, and Fake Normal is my debut as well. And it is the story of Alexi and Bodhi, and they are two teenagers who have been through really, really, really difficult circumstances and events over the past summer. And these are two people who barely know each other. They've previously only shared homeroom and next door lockers, and they're going to start sharing a home and all their secrets.
I mean, did I mention there are tigers in this book? That was definitely, I think, writing about the tigers was probably my favorite thing, and the context in which Heather kind of finds them. I mean, you know, there's a lot of tough stuff in this book. There are a lot of really intense scenes, really frightening scenes, because they're doing frightening things, like, you know, crossing a 6-lane highway blindfolded, which in order to write them, I kind of would get agitated as I was writing about them. And also there's a lot of, you know, it's a really gritty town. Actually, the funny thing is that even though last month the Delirium trilogy is defined as dystopian, I did an event with my friend Lev, and he's like, Panic is so much more dystopian, even though it's perfectly realistic, because it's a town that's like really entrenched in poverty. Heather lives in a trailer with a mother who's really not fit to be a mother. She's an addict, and you know, she's really worried about her younger sister and its impact on her. So there were a lot of really like kind of difficult things to write about, and then I got to write about this kind of haven that Heather stumbles into, this farm, basically a makeshift farm where all these animals are taken in to be rehabbed. So I think those were some of my favorite scenes to write, just because they gave me a break, kind of.
There was a scene when I first saw the book before I'd ever written it. There was a scene that I knew I was going to write, which gave birth to the title of the book, which is no longer the title of the book, in which Olivia, who is sick, and Zoe are sitting in the hospital, and it's late, and there's nobody else there. And Olivia wants to talk about what happens when we die. And sort of nobody wants to talk about that, and her family is relentlessly upbeat, and you're going to be okay. And Zoe's very nervous about having this conversation because it's a scary conversation and it's upsetting to her, but also because in a superstitious way she sort of feels like we shouldn't even talk about this. And Olivia, who's always patient and gentle and never gets angry, is quite angry at Zoe and is like, this is what I need to talk about. And they talk about it, and I wouldn't describe it as a scene in which some huge revelation takes place about, you know, what happens when we die, but it felt like a very raw and very real moment that I feel like, when I think of my best friend in high school, I feel like she would have done that for me, and she would have had the conversation with me that everybody else was scared to have. And so that was a hard scene to write, but I liked writing it.
I'm not going to say that my favorite scene is the sex scene, because it's weird, like it was fun.
Sex scenes are hard.
There's like this dog that like won't shut up, and it's outside the door, and it keeps interrupting. So I really, really liked like the sexile poodle disaster scene, but I think just my favorite scene for like what it is about is I don't know how many of you have read the book, but the silent disco when they go to the flash mob, and Ezra makes this playlist and he gives it to Cassidy, the girl he likes, as a present. And he's like, I thought we could dance to the same songs, because this is a silent disco where just a crowd of strangers gets together in this area and puts on headphones and just dances. And she's so angry at him. She's like, the point is that you dance to your own music, and it's beautiful and it's crazy and it's random and it's uncoordinated. And it's like, oh God, why are you being so mean to this boy who is giving you this really sweet gift? And I love that aspect of it, and also how in the middle of it, when Ezra is dancing, he takes off his headphones and he experiences the silence and like everybody else's dances, and he notices that there are people standing there like recording the moment, and like they can't be present even in this like wonderful thing. They just like, they would rather like make a memory of it than make an experience. And I think to me that was just such an interesting scene, like talking about like, I guess like the Snapchat generation. Is that a thing? Is that me? I don't know.
I'm also not going to say the sex scene, but I am a girl who really likes a kissing scene in books and in movies and on TV shows. So I think that my favorite scene in the book and my favorite scene to write is the scene where Sawyer and Mina first kiss outside the ice cream shop, and it's a really high that is then followed by a phone call that is a really low. So it was really fun for me to try and, you know, to get as high as you could possibly get and then just, you know, push them off a cliff.
I think my favorite scene happens pretty late in the book. As you can imagine, Faking Normal is about pretending. It's about holding back and not having anybody that you feel like you can let go with. And finally, pretty late in the book, there's a moment between Alexi and Bodhi in a tent, and she finally lets go. And Lauren was saying that there's tigers in her books, and this has a lion in it, and she describes the inside of her heart feeling like dueling lions. And in that moment when she finally tells him the truth, she says, like, and the dueling lions were silent. And it's like the first moment of release in the whole book, and I loved that for her. Like, I just hurt for her sometimes, and she finally felt a little better, you know?
In this book, there's this boy, Hayden Harper, and he loves Alexi, and yet he kind of doesn't really know her. So why did you decide to put in a boy who has this big crush on her and is really pulling for her to like him, and yet they don't have that much history?
I think that's high school. I mean, really, like, you don't, like, you can just see a boy across the, the quad and be like, I need to date him. And I think that's exactly, I wanted to kind of capture that realism, that there doesn't have to be an internal connection. They have, hardly any connection at all. And yet, he is like, square peg, round hole, by God, we're going out. And I think that happens. And I think it's totally different than Bodhi's approach, and it was kind of a nice, one of these is not like the other. And it set Bodhi apart in a really special way.
Harp is a very small town, and I feel like small towns generally connote community, and yet the way to get out of your small town is to play this really evil game where there's so much peer pressure in it. Kids peer pressure other kids to put money into the pot for Panic during the year, and the judges who are making up all the challenges are also kids, and it's just kids being mean to kids to get out of this small town, which has its own sense of community. So how did you decide that the ticket out of a small area would be to show up other people?
Well, I mean, anybody who says that small towns are about community, I don't think has really lived in a small town. That's like saying that high schools are about unity. I mean, the truth is, if you stick a bunch of people, or that projects are about people helping each other out of the projects. If you stick a bunch of people in similar circumstances, especially if they're negative similar circumstances together, it's actually just going to basically have an amplifying effect on some of their worst tendencies. So, I mean, actually people need diversity, I think, in order to come into contact with some of their best kinds of humanity. But, so I think that, I mean, also, the kids playing the game, they don't hate each other. I mean, there are rivalries and tensions between certain individuals the way that there are in small town communities. There's history. Everybody knows each other. I mean, I went to a high school where you knew the same people from when you were from when you were in first grade, so you knew stuff about their families. You knew who was poor and rich without even knowing why and how you knew it. It was like inherited information. It just came through the water supply. So, there are rivalries and tensions. They're not trying to, they're just trying to win, and everybody feels that they have a justified reason to win, and their needs and their impulses kind of take over. And I think that's also just true of the psychology of competition. I mean, I think that's what happens. If you want to play the game, you have to play to win.
Hey! So happy to meet you. I read the first 50 pages of your book online, and it was so good.
Oh, sorry. So sorry.
So, what do you want to do? What's your story? Okay.
I'm not sure.
You're not sure yet? Okay.
I know.
Oh, you're rocking it already.
Thank you.
Oh, yes, thank you.
I'm my favorite author.
Oh, thank you so much.
Well, are you a big reader? I can tell
Yeah,
from the stack
I read
you
all the
are.
time.
Nice. What are you working on now? Well, you'll soon be working on Panic, hopefully. But
Yeah, I'm actually reading Persuasion by Jane Austen right now.
have you read her other stuff?
I love Pride and Prejudice. That's
Yeah.
one of my favorite books.
Yeah, me too. I've read it like a million times. Sense and Sensibility is also very good.
Yeah, I'm going to start that one soon.
Yeah.
Thank you so much.
It's great
Great to meet you.
You too.
Take care.
Bye.